Engine's sitting down slightly at the back, and we've got yeah, we've got about 100mm, and the other sump's measuring 90mm, so the engine's going to fit in. Sump should clear the underpan. Yeah, 100mm there, so we've got a tiny little bit of clearance under the sump, so that's fine. So extract all the oil out of the engine and the dry sump tank, pull all that out, pull the engine out, the remote filter out. I need to blank off the fuel pump on the other one. It's open there, but I'll take that plate off that one. I'll use that rocker cover. It's got a vent over here and a filler. The other one hasn't got a filler on it. And I can use that, and I can use the water pump. Sump, yeah, what's in the sump? Yeah, coat of green paint on the sump. Right, that's the sump all cleaned, the gasket surface is cleaned, new gasket, painted the sump, and bolted it all back on, and sealed on with Hylamar blue sealer. The clutch that was on it was brand new, spring clutch type. However, I'm fitting my diaphragm clutch very slightly larger. Got an input shaft from a gearbox, so I can set up the get the plate central and tighten down the screws. Oh. I've adjusted all the valve clearances as well, set them all to 6 thou. They're all going up and down. I also cleaned the push rods. They were a wee bit mucky and odd bits of rust on them, so I gave them a rub down. I made sure that the spacer underneath the rocker post here has got the oil hole lined up, because oil comes up into the rocker shaft and goes along. But there are shims under the rocker shaft to get the correct height, and they can pivot about a bit, so the hole is lined up. Made sure of that. Just cleaning out the threads for the thermostat housing. They're quarter UNC. I got my new water pump for the Reliant engine. The old one had these plugs sort of screwed into the holes there. I don't think the holes were small enough. It looks barely tapped at all. I think that's 1/2 inch UNF plugs. Going with these, I think if I pull those out, they're going to be quite large, so I might have to make aluminium plugs and epoxy them in. These tubes look like they're just epoxied into the holes, so I probably need to put the blowtorch on it and heat them up and try and pull out these plugs, or these tubes anyway, and check the size of the hole and see whether I need to turn down an aluminium plug. Probably the best way, a couple of aluminium plugs, because I don't need these takeoffs because I don't use the heaters. Yeah, just push them. Right, 1/2 inch UNF tap set that my father bought at auction many years ago. Still comes in useful. Yeah, they screw in nicely. I'll get a fibre washer on each of those and a bit of thread sealant, and that should be fine. Right, that's 3 of the nuts tight, and that one there is for the strap for the alternator. I need to make spacers up for the alternator. There's a spacer goes in there and a spacer goes in there to offset the pulley to the correct position. Right, that should all work. I've got adjustment there, a bolt there, bolt there, bolt there, 2 spacers, and it all pretty much lines up. Oh, where I've got the alternator and the water pump fitted, I'll just fit the water inlet for the thermostat. I must remember and seal that hole. That goes right through into the water jacket, that one. These ones just go into pockets, but that one goes right through, so I need to put sealer on that when I screw it down. That's the thermostat housing and filler attached. What else have we still to do? Still got to put the blanking plate on for the fuel pump, and I need to fit the sensor for the oil pressure switch anyway. And I'll need to put in the takeoff for my oil pressure gauge. Just ran a 8th NPT tap into the hole there to get my sensor, or my adapter for the oil pressure gauge to go onto. I've got the oil pressure switch on there and the blanking plate. This is a water temperature. It's one of the ones with the bulbs on it that goes all the way back with a capillary tube to the gauge. On. Question is, can you get your fingers in there and put in the bolts? Are they actually long enough? Too long those bolts. Have to put studs back in them, I think. Put studs on the 2 bottom holes, and I can get in to put a knot on. That's the engine in, complete with the gearbox. Believe it or not, I lifted that in without the aid of an engine crane, just dropped it in. I think there's everything on this side of the engine apart from a vent pipe that goes up to the rocker cover. I need to block a vent there as well. Got the exhaust on, alternators on, water pipes are on this side, all the earths are on, the oil gauge connections on. I've got the header tank in. I've still put the catch tank back in, I'm just draining that out at the moment. Prop shaft is back on, gear linkage is back on. So tomorrow, on the other side, I'll put the starter motor in, clutch on, the rocker cover, distributor, oil filter, fill it with oil, reroute the cable for the oil pressure switch, and do the wiring on the other side for the alternator. Oh, painted the rocker cover and fitted my 1.25" SU, and I've made up a new throttle cable. It takes a nice curvy route around, and I'm just going to put some oil in it, and then I'll put some coolant in it. I need to put the start motor's on, clutch is on, pedals are in, oil filter's on. Yeah, so it's water and oil and distributor. Jeez, what a mess. I've been making cables and electrical connections and more electrical stuff, more electrical stuff, more electrical stuff. I was only putting 2 wires in the car. I think I've got everything in it other than spark plugs at the moment. Water, oil, all the electrics have been tidied up and the alternator wired in. We'll need to see if we can get oil pressure and hopefully no leaks. How are we doing? Check for flames. All good so far. Oil pressure switch, oil pressure light, ignition light over there. We've got the spark plugs in and put the distributor back in. We'll see if it will make any inclination to fire. Leaking there. Right, I think it was actually the pipe that was leaking, because it was an 8mm pipe going onto a 6mm piece of tubing. So I've shrunk on a piece of clear tubing there, bring it up in size, so hopefully it will seal now. That seems to have got it. Right, I've added the jumper battery. Nope, timing is definitely not right. I'll need to get the timing light on it and see where it's firing and double check the timing marks. I was assuming you had the distributor drive in the correct orientation when I installed the distributor. It may be out some teeth on it. Right, I've been trying to get the engine to start. No success so far. I found out that the distributor drive is 180 degrees out. So I turned the wires the opposite way around. So it was sparking at the right time on the right cylinder. Still no avail. Coughs and bangs occasionally. Doesn't want to start. So I then did a compression test on it, and I think it had about £75, £60, £25, £60. So the valves are not sealing properly. So I need to take the head off and do the valves on this I've also got my Bendix on the starter motor sticking. It could be that it got bent or damaged when the flywheel went at an angle with the old engine. So I'm swirling whether to pull the head on this one and do it in situ and try and fix the starter motor, or whether to go and get the engine out the Hamblin, put the engine in, swap the sump over, swap some of the ancillaries over. That's it back out again. A good morning's work. I've unfastened the engine. Excuse me. Oh dearie me. Oh, must be the sun making me sneeze. Yeah, a good morning's work. I've unfastened all the bolts holding the engine in. Just got to separate it from the gearbox and then get it out of this aperture. I'm just looking to see if there's any differences between this and the other one. The only one I really notice is the front plate has got ears bent over and bolted to the mounts. The other front plates have got removable front mounts. Right, I'm going to change the front plate on this other one. Change the front plate. These nuts are welded on there, and the bush screws into the nut. There's the other one, a couple of holes drilled there, and a plate screws on. So change that front plate, the cover, the water pump. I need to block that outlet. And change the sump. It's been a wee bit welded at some stage. Change the sump for that baffle one I've got, and blank off for the fuel pump. And I can put in pressure switch in there for the oil. I can do the tapping at the back for my other oil gauge. Right, so I need to drain the oil from these two engines. Right, I've got the sump on, the new front plate on, the new front mounts on, new gaskets on the front and the sump. And what else have I done? Swapped over the blanking plate for the water pump. Still swap the sensor holes about, and I need to plug up that hole there. I'll tap that half UNF and put a plug in there. could not get this electronic distributor to run it at all. It was always popping backfire despite being supposedly timed for the right cylinder. I'm quite sure I've got the plug leads in the right order. So there must be something wrong with this. Put the ancient old points distributor back in from the Hamblin. Started first time. So I think everything's in it. So I need to put something on that so if I lift that to raise the throttle when I'm standing beside it, I don't pull this out and jam and get full throttle or wide open throttle. I'll find some way of sticking that in there. Other than that, it's all back together. That distributor could explain why I couldn't get the other engine to run, even though, you know, it was it did have some compression, but it was a bit low on some of the cylinders. But it's had the same symptoms of popping and banging, not wanting to run despite how often I tried to time it. This was exhibiting the same symptoms with that distributor. Put an old points distributor back in and it worked fine. Well, that's the 850 engine in. I've got the SU carb on. Cut out a bit more of the bonnet for clearance. And I put on a larger silencer, a larger bore silencer. There's the old one there. Set the timing up. I use my timing light to set it up. My AccuSpark timing light. So, should be all ready for the weekend. Going to Kames down in Ayrshire for a sprint on Saturday and Sunday. Hopefully we'll get some good weather and I'll be able to compare my times with the previous ones with the 850 engine. Sorry, the 750 engine compared with the 850 engine. This engine won't rev as hard as the 750. But hopefully it's got more torque and be able to pull a taller gear